Hey guys, so we have another video here from J&D Projects, and we're going to give a little overview of our shop. Our tool haul video did so good that we want to do a shop tour, so.
Yeah, that's one reason. The other reason is that someone who does most of the editing somehow lost some of the video clips from the restoration project that John and I did on a wrench. We'll show you the wrench that we did. We can't show the video because we've lost some of the video clips. So we're going to do this instead.
Yep.
All right. So let's begin. I guess John's going to hold the camera this time. And I'm going to kind of give the tour. We're going to start with our forge area first. So John, let's go over there. So this is our forge area that we use right now. We're in the process of trying to plan out a forge. Here's our walkout garage here in the back of the house, and we're going to put a covered forge out here. We just haven't had time to build it yet. So we're kind of using this front spot here. As you can see, we have an old welding table we're using as a work surface for different items. We got our forge, or hammers, and well, these are actually swages, they're not hammers. You know, there is the difference. You know, there is a difference between, let me get it out of here. So these both look like hammers. They have big metal pieces on the end of sticks, and but this is not a hammer. This is called a swage, and we use it to put a rounded concave surface on a piece of metal, and it fits. So at any rate, we use it's used, and you hit the back of it with another hammer. Okay, so it's called a swage. This is a hammer, of course, is a ball peen. Now we have several hammers. In fact, I think we have 65 hammers altogether. We've got cross peens and straight peens, just plain old sledgehammers. And then we have something like, again, now this also looks like a hammer. In fact, it looks a lot like a hammer. It looks like one of those tomahawk hammers, but it's not. It's called a hot cut. Here's another example of one.
A little smaller.
It's a little bit smaller. It's a hot cut. And so the edge is, this edge then is put down on the hot metal, and then a hammer is used to cut the piece of metal. So just a little piece of nomenclature there. This is called a flatter hammer, actually. This is called a hammer, even though it's not used as a hammer. And the piece is put here, and then a hammer is used on the back of this. You can see how it's all mushroomed out. This is an old piece of equipment here. And you can see it's got a very spindly handle, but it doesn't have to have a good handle, because that's just used to hold it. And then it flattens and straightens out metal, gets the dips out of the hammer marks and stuff like that.
If you have a flat anvil.
Yeah, if you have a flat anvil. If you don't have a flat anvil, then it doesn't work so well.
And then here's just some tools and twisting wrench. Tons of stuff.
Yeah, here's a fullering device we made. It's just a handheld piece that we made in a flash to be able to put a fuller in some work that we were doing.
Kind of more of an isolation tool.
Yeah, it's more of an isolation tool, but anytime you put a curve into a piece of metal there, it's called a fuller. And so at any rate, there's that. But so we make a lot of our own tools. We made this hot cut that goes in our hardy hole. We made that ourselves as well. So I have some jigs that we've made. This one is for making hooks. If you're trying to make a whole lot of hooks at one time, you put the end of the hook here and then just bend it right around, and it makes the shape of the hook for you. So This is our anvil. It's not the best anvil in the whole world. It's old, and it's cast, so it's got a hard face, but it's cast. The rest of the body is cast.
Well, yeah.
And it's not, that doesn't make it bad or anything. It's just old. As you can see, the edges here are really cracked up and everything. It's seen a lot of wear over the years, but we just can't really afford to replace it right now, so we just make do with what we have. We actually have 3 forges. We only have 2 set up right now. This is one of our gas forges and that we use, and then again over here, this is actually a modified farrier's forge. I got it from a friend several years ago, and we use it for our coal forge right now. And there's just a 55 gallon drum we have on top. It's by no means ideal, but once again, we're using it as a bridge until we can build our real forge out here. We've got the brick, we just can't seem to find the time to do it. So in the meantime, then we just make do with things like that for the work. But a forge can be anything. It doesn't have to be something that's elaborate and all of that. You can dig a hole, a little shallow spot in the ground, and put some brick around it, and get a steel pipe, and use a hairdryer for the air supply, and that's a forge. So it doesn't have to be something that you might find in Williamsburg, Virginia, at the forge shop there. It doesn't have to look like that to be a forge. All you have to do is have a place that you can get some air to some fuel so you can get the temperature up. And that's really all a forge is.
Man, you're rocking that shirt.
Oh, hey, what do you think about this
yeah.
shirt? See, look at this. John's got the same shirt on, as you can see. Let's turn this around here.
I'm hung up to the GoPro, but yeah.
We have the same shirt on. We got these shirts actually in Williamsburg, Virginia, and we thought it was really apropos, so we each bought one, and we're going to use them for a while with our videos. All right, so come on back inside here, and so this is kind of in the way, so let me just talk about this for a second. This is a basket. This is called a hearth basket. My wife makes baskets, and so she asked me to stain this one for her, so it's hanging up drying right now. So once again, remember, we've said before that the whole point of this YouTube channel is to get parents and kids working together, doing something. Now we do John and I like to do things in the shop, forging. I'll show you a couple of forge things here maybe as we go along that we've done, that we still have, because we either donate them. I'll tell you something about what we donate to in a minute. We either donate the stuff we make or we sell it. We usually don't keep it for ourselves. Other people have knives. We don't have the only knives we have are the knives we buy, because the ones we make, we sell. So, but the point is that you don't have to make knives. You don't have to build things in a shop setting like we're in right now to be able to do things together. My wife makes baskets, and that was a perfect thing for especially for young ladies and mothers to come together to work with. These are honestly not very hard to make. Some of them are very elaborate and are hard, but you don't have to start with those. And so the point is getting together and doing something together that doesn't have anything to do with a social media or the television. Let's move on.
Another example of that, we can keep on walking, but another example of that is yesterday I helped my mom plant about 20 pots worth of flowers and stuff.
The ones that are still upstairs in the garage.
Yeah.
That we need to put out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I kind of split my time.
So this is our table saw. Now, it's not much to look at. It was made in the late 40s, early 50s. A good friend of mine in Georgia gave this to me. He's an older gentleman, and his father, this belonged to his father. Now, my friend Jim is in he's actually 80, I believe. I believe he turned 80 this year. So his dad bought this right after World War II, and then he inherited it. And then before he left his house to move down to Florida to be with his only son, he gave this to me. And so it's not the highest end saw that you'll ever see in your life, but it's got a nice thick cast steel table. It cuts well.
Cuts laser straight.
And it does cut straight. Now, I did have to straighten it, but you do know you can adjust these things, and sometimes they need to be adjusted. If you don't know how to adjust the blade on your table saw, there are plenty of YouTube videos out there that can share that with you.
This is an Ohio Forge, by the way. That's the brand.
This is hang on, I skipped these two, sorry. So this is a Portaband. Now, we use this thing to cut metal. This is basically, and if you don't know, it's basically an electric hacksaw is what it is. And it has a 48-inch blade on it, and it just melts right through steel. Now, there are different size teeth and different sets for different thicknesses of steel. I believe what we have on here does a 1/4 inch and greater thickness, but you can get a smaller, a different blade that will do that does less than a 1/4 inch thick material. So we've used the stew out of this thing. Now, I built John and I, we built this deck here. It's just made out of aluminum angle. This is like what, 3.5 inch angle, and so
and we also hooked up a on and off switch to the Portaband.
And then put it in a carriage here, and then this thing just sits in a vise. And then when we need the vise for something else, we just pull it out. We've got 4 vices in the shop here, so we have plenty to work with. So this one's really not missed that much, except it is the largest one we have. So, if we did need it for a larger project, we'd have to move this aside. But the point is that this thing came from Harbor Freight. The Portaband did. There are some things that you probably don't want to buy at Harbor Freight, but they've got a lot of good stuff, and their stuff is getting better. I will have to admit that. And when you're looking to save money, and my middle name is El Cheapo, so when I can, I try to save a few bucks. Now, there's things I won't compromise on that I do want American-made tools, but this Portaband has really served us well. We have a Ryobi bandsaw. And that comes in really handy for making scales and for knives. It's really, really convenient. Now, just like the Portaband, you've got a spinning band blade that is facing you as you're using it. So, you do have to be super careful and watch yourself.
This guard does help. You can lower it to the thickness of your material.
Right.
But still, it's an old finger chewer.
Yeah, the thing about it is, if your finger gets caught with the Portaband or the bandsaw, it'll probably do a pretty good job of, removing it from your body. So you got to be real careful. You have to be really, really careful when you're working in the shop. You got to keep your mind on what you're doing. Doesn't mean you don't do it. It just means that you exercise some simple safety principles. This is an old bench grinder, and it's run by a belt and a motor that's mounted down here. This thing is, again, a 40s, 50s vintage piece of equipment. And the last house, now we live in Tennessee now, but when we lived in Arkansas, we bought a house, and the guy that we bought the house from left us in the shop. So we inherited it that way. So I don't know what the provenance of this thing is, Didn't get to ask him.
It wasn't running at first, but I got it running, and I fixed the switch down there, and I got it running. That probably is why he left it.
It probably was. He thought it was bad, but it wasn't bad. It just needed a little bit of repair work, and so there's that. I did mention the forge earlier, our coal forge. We buy our coal in Virginia. It's right across the Tennessee border where we buy it. Oh, that's actually
Charcoal.
that's charcoal. That's not.
I was wondering why it was so light.
Yeah, me too. So we get our coal from over there now. We do have to break it up a little bit to use it, but that's okay. You know, it's really not. It's, I guess, Stoker coal is like about 3/4 inch. You know, this is a little bit bigger, but hey, we can get 300 pounds for $50, so we can break it up ourselves. We keep extra fuel for our gas forge. We have 2 100-pound bottles, and then we have several of the 20-pound bottles as well. This is our drill press, and I bought this thing from a friend of mine who was selling his frame shop, and he was getting rid of everything, and so he wanted to give it to me, and I wouldn't take it from him for free because they were basically losing the shop, and so there's no way I was going to take this for free. So I paid him for it, and it works like a champ. You know, sometimes your chuck or key, you can lose it, and so what we did was we just got a chain and put a swivel on the end of it, so it'll turn like this, so when you're turning it, it won't wrap the chain up, and and that way it stays right on there. We also mounted a wrench. I think this is a 17 millimeter wrench, and that's for securing our 4-inch vise down to the plate here with these bolts. Right now it's actually not connected because we were using it for a different project yesterday. So but that's what we have that wrench there for, and so we just have them mounted with chain, and that way we're not constantly searching for one of those two tools.
Hold this real quick. I want to point out a tool real quick. What?
GoPro, stop recording. Okay, so this is our 2x72-inch belt grinder. We bought this as a kit, actually. We thought about making our own, and once we got into it and realizing how much the bearings and the precision pulleys and all of that were going to cost, and then the VFD drive along with the DC motor there, after we figured about, oh, I guess it's an AC motor actually with an AC VFD. I'm not sure how that works actually. Any rate, instead of so by the time we added all of it up, we could buy this kit from a place in Oregon or Washington. I forgot the name. Wished I could remember their name now so I could give them a shout out, because
it's like OMB or something.
Yeah, these guys, it's a Genesis machine. So if you're interested in it, you know, maybe look up belt grinder Genesis, and you can probably find these guys. But they sell it as a kit, and you have to put it together, and it's all no welding or anything like that. You just have to assemble it, and then you have to mount it. And so by the time all was said and done, we were able to cut out having to actually make it. I mean, it wasn't really any cheaper than buying the individual parts, but we didn't have to put the labor in and build it and all of that. It was already pretty much all the big parts were assembled. So made sense to get it. By the way, when I name things specifically, like calling out these guys or any of the other specific names that we might use for tools and stuff that we have, we don't have any relationship with any of these people. So as far as I know, they have no idea that we even have their stuff. You know, we're just another customer, and so we're not getting any kind of we're not doing any kind of support, specific support for any given maker. All right, so we do have another bench grinder. This is it's kind of a cheapie, but it does work and it is useful. So we have that one, and then this was a John buy. It's a Win sharpening wheel, and so this is a water trough, and it just simply it's bi-directional,
I think it's on
and we use it for sharpening knives, and so we can.
There's usually a piece of leather right there, but that got ripped off.
Yeah, that got ripped off. Somebody ripped that off, didn't they?
By accident, it grabbed one of my knives.
Oh yeah, stripped it off. Yeah, this is a piece. This is a plastic spindle here, and I'm quite sure that we can just go to Win and buy another one of these.
Now we haven't really tuned this at all. You have to get this like diamond cutter to make this wheel flat, and you also got to get a few what are they called? Guides or something.
Right, because the only guide we really have is this right here.
And it's useless.
It really is. It's not that useful at all for what we've got. But you can get an aftermarket attachment that goes on here that you can mount your knife on, and then
it has a swivel.
The knife blade just lays there, and you just turn it on, and it just does its thing. And it's at the exact angle you need it, whatever that may be. But we just do them by hand. Okay, so we've kind of gone around the shop with with our power tools. We have now, this is our, if you can get kind of a overview shot of this, John, we have this L-shaped workbench area. And this is kind of our general purpose area where we work on our projects, and we have a lot of our resources stored here. We have things like ammonium or potassium nitrate, because we make our own black powder sometimes. We have our PermaBlue for bluing metal.
FeCl3.
Yeah, the iron trichloride is used for etching metal. And we have sodium hydroxide for working on cast iron and cleaning cast iron and things like that, and other purposes. And then we use glass cleaner. We have several bottles of glass cleaner. What we found works the best is just the generic stuff from Walmart. But you can get all kinds. We also have the Zep.
It works
brand.
about equal. It's just more expensive.
It is more expensive, but yeah. And what we use it for is a lubricant for our for sanding our knife blades. And so the sandpaper that we use is you can buy it from O'Reilly's, and we have used lots of different kinds of sandpaper. We've used the Hercules brand from Harbor Freight, whatever the Diablo brand from Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever it came from.
Gator brand from Walmart.
That Gator brand from Walmart. We have tried as many as we can find, and we have found that the Master Pro sandpaper from O'Reilly's works the best. Of the ones that we have tried. Now, there may be more out there that we don't know about and all of that, but that's what we like to use. And it is a little more, I'm not sure it is more expensive because it lasts longer. So I'm not sure that it really is any more costly than any other, but it certainly seems to work better for us. But we use the glass cleaner as a lubricant that process.
This is our box of wood finishes and stuff for handles and stuff.
Yeah, and this right here, this is a natural food grade beeswax, and I'm telling you, this stuff works beautifully. Now we use beeswax. We use plain old beeswax. This comes right out of hives, and we use this beeswax to coat our some of the iron products that we make in the forge. So once you get done, you clean all the scale off the item. You're done forging, you clean the scale off. You can heat it back up, to roughly less than 400 degrees, and then just use this, just rub this beeswax on there, and it'll put a nice black coating on there for you. And it's almost like seasoning, if you will, and it reduces rust and all of that kind of stuff for that. So there's a local, is that apiarist? Are they beekeepers?
I just call them beekeepers.
Okay, we're going to call them beekeepers because we're not sure what their names are.
Sorry for all beekeepers out there.
Yeah, we're not intending to. We just don't know very much. We're just two country boys that just kind of do our best with the tools, resources we have. So there's a local beekeeper that lives just in a town just down the road from us, and they give us this beeswax to help keep us going. So we have fasteners and all of our other gear here. We've gotten to where we really like. We collect these old screwdrivers, these wooden handle screwdrivers. They're probably no better than the modern ones, but
they're cooler.
They're cooler. They got a cool factor that the modern ones do not have, and so we really like those. And so we tend to use them. We have several. We have two different kinds of hand tools here. One, we have this little nailer here is really a cool nailer. It only does like one, and I think it does up to 1.5 inch brads. But it's great when you're gluing two pieces together. You can just put a couple of brads in there and it holds it for you while it dries. And so that's really good. We have impact wrenches. Those things come in super handy. Was working on my wife's car. John and I was working on my wife's car installing a upstream oxygen sensor the other day, and we could not get that oxygen sensor broke free, and I was getting frustrated, and John said, "What about the impact wrench?" And I said, "Boy, that's a good idea. Go get it." And so it pulled it right off. We use a lot of antler, and so you can see here we've got a little stash of antler, and we use it for handles and stuff like that. So we don't have very much there, but I'll show you a stash in just a minute where we probably have gotten more than we'll use in our lifetime because we don't use it all the time. But another thing that we have for working on the forge is an infrared thermometer. Again, this is it's a Harbor Freight item.
Very useful.
And it's very useful. Works great.
C-clamps.
C-clamps. Yeah, these are all antique C-clamps from this point over. And we use the stew out of those. We also have some of the smaller 3-inch ones. This one I particularly like because we've got a bracket welded on here, and so we can put this into a vise and get the other direction for clamping something, which is sometimes kind of nice. And then of course we got the El Cheapo.
Well, those suckers aren't cheap.
Well, and yeah, but these are good for like when we're gluing up scales onto handles, onto knife handles. These things are great. They got plenty of holding power until the epoxy dries.
These metal ones come from Harbor Freight. They're about $4 a piece. They used to be when we got them, and these just love them. They were great.
Yep. All right, so we've got a lot of different levels here. This is my favorite level. It's just an old aluminum level. I got this in an antique shop for I think $10, and it works just beautifully. We have a couple of laser levels as well. I don't know where the other one is, but there's one right there. And then we've got a series of just bar clamps. We got some pipe clamps. You can see them over here. And then we've got the wood screw clamps here. Those aren't actually, I bought those back in 1994. I remember exactly when I bought those. We also have gouges, different types of gouges for wood carving. We're not too good on the wood carving, but we try, and we'll get better probably as time goes on. Now, let's see. Let's come over here. We have a few planes, and this plane actually belonged to my dad. He was an artist and a draftsman, and he died when I was 12. But he could draw just anything, and he liked to build stuff. And I don't have a lot of his tools, but I've got some of his tools, and here's one of them. And
these two we talked about in the tool haul video, and if you haven't checked that out, go check that video out. It's very interesting.
Those two. And then this is something that John found in an antique store. This is a brand new Buck Brothers plane.
$16.
And it was it $16?
$16.
So I think that was a reasonable deal. And especially since it's never been used. So, and then we've got chisels that we use.
Those two are old. We got those at an antique store.
Yeah, these are old. That's a really old one. We kind of just use that as a scraper more than anything else.
A few Buck Brothers. These are real nice chisels.
This star drill belonged to my dad. Oh, sorry. This star drill belonged to my dad. He did a lot of masonry work in his spare time, and so I have some of those tools as well. We have, again, we like the wood handles, and so here's an old awl. We have several awls, and then just a bunch of other older chisels. Some are in better shape than others. Here's one that's in really nice shape.
I think I could say this one's probably our biggest chisel.
Yeah, that's our biggest chisel. I'm not even sure I remember where we got that.
We might have got it in the antique store. It's probably it's where we get most of our stuff.
Yeah.
Find decent deals and stuff.
I can't read the label on there. All right, so there's that. We have a lot of other little items in here, just files and things like that. But John wanted to show you this. So let me set it down here, and he can show you this thing. Okay, have at it, buddy.
Okay. Getting sorry. Dusty in here.
Is that thing upside down?
Possibly.
I think it's upside down, dude.
No, the legs. The legs are down.
Okay. It's not upside down. All right.
Let's just go ahead and open. Okay. So this is an old tap and die set from my great-grandfather. And he mostly used it on his farm. And I just thought that it was very, very, very cool. So.
Yeah, some of the items don't go in here. Like you can tell pretty clearly that does not belong here. You know, this one does, of course. But it's okay. We use them anyway.
And these are adjustable. They kind of have these adjustable blocks and little set screws on the end. And then you set it down in there. And you can really do any sort of size of stock.
Yeah, these dies are... These are fairly old. Again, this is an old piece of equipment. We don't know what the exact date is on there. We've not really looked it up to know exactly.
It's still got it wasn't used very much. It still has.
Yeah, the Wells Brothers Company in Greenfield, Massachusetts. So we probably ought to look that up and learn a little bit more about it to see where it comes from. But it's old.
It's called the Little Giant Assortment of Taps and Dies.
So very nice. And it's in a really cool old wood contained box.
I want to
What's that thing from close? Oh, I know what it is. That's
that
why we
right
put
there?
that up there. Because it won't close when it's back there.
There's a reason for everything, usually.
There he is. We have to rediscover it though. Just back up real quick.
Because we have the memory of goldfish.
That's right. We have the memory of a goldfish. The one piece of equipment I didn't show you was our
Jigsaw.
no
Scroll saw.
scroll saw. Thank you. Thank you very much. We don't use it very much.
We kind of
But-
focus on metalwork more. So.
Yeah, but this came from that same fellow that gave me the table saw. He used to make some numbers and letters and things like that he made for signs and whatnot, and he used this tool to do that with. And so he gave it to us. I've used it a little bit. No, it's just
Well, no, not VFD, but
that's the travel.
Yeah, travel.
Of the blade. So at any rate, we've used it for a couple of projects, but you know that's why it's kind of in the back of the shop because we don't use it that often. The last thing that we want to show you. Well, let me show you this over here. We tend to collect, like these are our latest addition to our collection. This is a Country Time lemonade container. And so we collect these plastic containers that have lids on them and stuff so that we can use them in the shop to like contain different liquids, and then we can use these are like frozen dinner trays, and we can use to soak parts with and clean parts, and so this comes in really handy. So this is kind of just our generic plastic container shelf or metal whatever container shelf, and so it's very useful. The one thing I will point out since we're over here is this is and I want to refinish the handle and everything, but this is my dad's old Sai, and so it's a booger. It's a booger, so the blade's rusty. We need to clean that up and everything. So we might do a restoration on this. That'd be a good restoration maybe to do, John.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one thing I wanted to show. Oh, I'm sorry. What were you gonna say?
Wasn't that his as well?
Yeah, this Maddox. This Maddox was his as well. And
Cool tools. I love them.
it's called a Warwood number 5. So interesting. We have all kinds of weird things in the shop. This is a pipe from an organ. And
Thing of all things.
yeah, thing of all things. Found it in an antique shop. My older son likes music, and so I bought it to just sort of refinish it for him. This is an A
number sign. So
Yeah.
I think no, not a number sign.
I don't know what that is.
AX, and he said it was like kind of like an A sharp. He said.
Yeah, and there's a little valve here that you can turn to open and close for the airflow, and it actually still works. So something else to have to work on. Yeah, what I was going to show you was here. These are. Look past the belts for just a moment, if you can. These are the belts that go for our belt sander. But look at here. I told you that we had plenty of antlers.
And these are old ones.
These are pretty old antlers. You can see there's a lot of patina and aging on them. And then we have some more down here. So we have plenty of antlers to get us through. This up at the top, I couldn't resist that. I paid $15 for that thing, and that is an ice saw from Alaska. And don't know what in the world we're going to do with it, but
We've
it's
had
going
it
to
for
be
a few
good.
years.
We're going to do something with it. We just haven't figured out what to do with it yet. So let's end up our tour by looking at some of the items that we have collected for restoration. Yeah, let me move that out of the way. That's going to have to go the way of the buffalo, I'm afraid.
think we got that at the beach for Mama once.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
So we've collected things like cleavers, axes. Now,
That's my axe.
is that the Kelly Company axe?
That's my axe. That he said, pick one axe for your use from now on. And I picked this one because I like the look of it.
And it's a Kelly. I'm going to try to... Let's bring it over here so they can see the under the light here. Maybe...
Oh.
Can you see that?
All I can see is divots. I can't see.
Let me get some of that dirt off of it. Now, how about that?
Kelly, axe, and something, I think.
And Tool Company.
And Tool Company, Charleston, South Carolina. Like, no. If you put some water on it, you can see it.
Charleston, West Virginia,
Charleston,
USA.
West Virginia, USA.
Yep. So it's a nice axe head. He picked it out for himself, and so...
I kind of started doing a restoration on it, and then I got occupied.
Yeah, this is just dirt and grime from the shop. And so he's done a pretty good job. Look here. This is something that's really interesting. Look at the line. Can you see the light and dark difference here? So this side is hardened steel. This side is softer steel. So typically whenever you quench an axe, you'll just do the edge that's going to have that you're going to sharpen, because you want the rest of the body of the axe head to be soft so that it can withstand all of the forces in chopping and not break. Because the thing about hard steel is hardened steel tends to be more brittle than the softer steel. So that's why you'll typically see people only quenching a portion, just the edge portion of the axe. Oftentimes we'll just edge quench knives for the very same reason, especially if they're going to be used for like bushcraft knives where there's going to be a lot of stress placed on the blade. We'll just quench the edge and then leave the rest of the spine and the rest of the tang to be soft so it can withstand those and absorb all of those forces from its use.
Speaking of an axe absorbing forces, one of my teachers at my homeschool co-op, he gave me an axe to restore. He gave me an axe to restore, and that thing, if it had one crack, it had a million. It felt like to me. But I got it all sealed up the best I could, and welded it. Yeah, I welded it, and that was a booger. That was one of my hardest restorations I did.
So back here to our table of things. Here are a couple of block and tackle. These, I have two things from my father's father. I have these, and I have his World War I helmet. And those are the only two things that I have. I don't even know what his middle name is.
As far as I can tell, I've looked up his military war records and his birth records from when in the town he was born in. And in all the things, he didn't have a middle name on his official records, so... Alright guys, so I thought this was a pretty fascinating walkthrough myself. But I hope y'all liked it, and consider subscribing and hit the like button. And that's about it for me. At least.
We're J&D Projects. Make sure you get out there and do something this week. Do something with your kids. And whether it's in the shop or in the yard or on the lake or wherever it may be, building a model or forging a knife, whatever it is. Do something. So we'll see y'all next time. Thank you for watching our video. GoPro, stop recording.
GoPro, stop recording.